Very good, very good. All right, welcome everyone. Really excited to have you joining us today for this awesome presentation. We will go ahead and flip on to the next one there. So, today we've got Mo here. He is the Vice President of Marketing for NiceJob. So he is going to be talking to us about the contractor's edge, turning happy customers into your best marketing. One of my favorite topics. I love delighting the customer. So very excited about this. Before we get into it, though, want to remind you, got a couple, just little housekeeping things here. Want to remind everybody about our JobTread Pros Facebook group. So if you're not part of that group, go ahead, Mo, you can go ahead and click on to the next one here. So if you're not part of our group, definitely check it out, get in there. I think we just passed 7,400 users, so really excited. Great place to network, ask questions, keep up with the latest and greatest. Go ahead and hop on in there. And the next one, we got builder stories. So this is our weekly podcast. Different builder every week. Get to hear their unique stories, how they got going, the challenges that they have, lessons learned, things like that. So be sure to tune in, like, subscribe, all the usual on the podcast. And we've got our upcoming boot camp. So October 16th and 17th is going to be our next one. If you hadn't gotten your tickets, it's not too late. And then we'll have one other one. The November 16th, 17th one will be the last one of the year. So definitely come check this out. If you're new to JobTread, want to devote just 2 days to really get your hands up and get up and running on JobTread, we'd love to sit here and work with you. We've got full-blown training class, kind of classroom style, but then also lots of networking, workshop type learning, training. We do a happy hour there behind the scenes. You get to meet the whole JobTread team. So, please do consider this if you are newer to JobTread and want to get up to speed very quickly. And lastly, we've got JobTread Connect. It is January 14th to the 17th. It's going to, Mo, go ahead and go to the next slide there. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas. If you hadn't been to JobTread Connect, this is a must-attend event. Highly recommend you try to figure out how to make it happen. Bring your team. This is a great opportunity to network with other JobTread pros, people who are, at all different stages of their business, their JobTread. Lots of, just business education, sales, marketing, customer training, project management, all the way through to specifics about JobTread, implementation. Got lots of keynotes, lots of networking events, really, really good time. Highly recommend it. You do want to grab your tickets before the next price increase, which will be October 3rd. And even more importantly, you want to make sure that you get your hotel reservations booked. We will sell out, all of the hotels in the area, so definitely want to get ahead of that. It'll just make your travel a little bit easier. So I can't wait to see everyone there. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and turn it over to Mo. Really excited to see what you got for us today, Mo. Welcome.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Eric. Thanks for having us, and thank you everyone for joining us on this wonderful day. So, like Eric said, my name is Mo Daouk. I lead marketing here at NiceJob, and I'm fortunate enough to get to work with thousands of businesses of all different shapes and sizes, and help them grow their reputation, but also help them grow their business. So today we're going to be diving into a little bit about that. So. A little bit of a spoiler alert in terms of what we're going to cover today, but we are definitely going to be talking about online reputation and sort of the ramifications of around how reviews affect that, right? I'll lead you guys through some key warning signs to see if your business is falling behind. And we'll also walk through a playbook that you can use right after this talk today, and as well as some automations that will make the playbook even easier to use. Um, like Eric mentioned, there's going to be a Q&A section at the end, but if you do have questions, I do have the chat screen popped up on the other screen that I have here in front of me. So if you do have any questions throughout the process, just drop them in there. I'll try to kind of look over every once in a while, so that we can get to them at the end. Okay, so let's start at the important part, and straight away, like let's get right into it in terms of why online reputation matters significantly more for today's consumer. So in today's market, trust is the currency, right? And we live in a digital world today where trust is playing this sort of massive role when it comes to consumer decision making. And when potential customers they're searching for services, they often turn to online reviews as their first source of credibility. In fact, 98% of customers they use reviews to inform their buying decisions, which is, a vast majority of all consumers out there. And people trust online reviews, believe it or not, just as much as they trust like a personal recommendation from a friend or a family. And the other interesting thing is Google prioritizes businesses with good reviews. So the search engine is actually going to value businesses with high ratings, with recent ratings, and with consistent reviews a lot higher than other businesses. So it really means that when you have a strong online reputation, it'll help increase your overall visibility in search, but it'll translate into more leads, which is probably going to give you more booked jobs. Today, almost 69% of all clicks are being taken by the top three positions on Google. So if you're not even showing up in the top three positions, people are getting lazier and lazier. They're not going to go to the second page of Google. They're not going to click to see more. So if you're not making it at that top, there's a high chance that you're missing out. The other interesting aspect to think about is reviews, they can actually drive sales and conversions. And studies have shown that businesses that have more positive reviews can actually charge higher prices and still get booked more often than their competitors with fewer or low rated reviews. So if you look at it from the perspective of a competitive edge, right? It's like if a potential customer is deciding between two businesses and one is showing up more, has more reviews, the other one hasn't had a review in years or has a small amount of reviews, they're always going to choose the one that has the most recent and the higher rated businesses to show. And by the way, this is a huge case when it comes to AI as well, right? I know a lot of us use ChatGPT these days and different AI search engines. It's the same exact thing that's happening. So it's not just about boosting your first impression, right? The other aspect to look at it is referred customers as well. So customers refer customers, right? And referred customers are 4 times more likely to buy compared to ones that are unreferred. So just something to kind of think about because this also is part of your overall online reputation. Here's just a quick example. Like this is just in my city, top three results of businesses. You know what I mean? When I search for, um, um, when I did a quick search for a home builder, this is the top three. And this is exactly what I'm saying. Even though the map shows there's a lot of other home builders in the city, most likely people are gonna search for this. And another quick tip I'd like to kind of give you guys, if you haven't done so already, I tell this to all of our customers is just do a quick search on ChatGPT. Like open up ChatGPT and say, whatever industry you're in, whatever business you're in, ask it, you know what I mean, a question about your business and then see if you're actually showing up. Like, for example, if you're a home builder, say, what are the top home builders in my city? And then see what it actually shows up. And if you don't show up, ask it why. And I almost guarantee you a lot of the times it's going to be linked directly to your online reputation. So I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about what does it look like when a business is sort of falling behind, right? One of the clearest like warning signs is this over reliance on tactics when it comes to or sorry, over relying on tactics instead of having a true strategy. So when it comes to businesses that spend heavily on like traditional marketing platforms, right? If you think of display ads, paid search, paid social, even some other stuff like SEO and content marketing and email campaigns and so on and so forth. You can do all that, but if you don't have a unifying approach that ties it all together, you're going to fall short. And it's the same thing when it comes to like offline tactics as well, right? Whether it's print or, you're going to events or you're doing, direct sales or whatever it is. All of these can have their place. I'm not saying that they don't have their place, but if they're not supported by a strong reputation strategy, then you're basically paying for like these short bursts of attention that are going to disappear once either the campaign ends or once the show ends or the dollars run out on the paid ads. The other big danger is, when it comes to is neglecting your online reputation, right? And this is where those stats that I showed in the previous slide really come into play. So if your business has a low online review count and a low Google rating, poor search visibility, unresolved negative feedback or reviews, which we'll talk about, a weak social media presence, and you're not even responding to reviews, what you're doing in situation is you're sending these like silent signals, I like to call them. And it's essentially you're sending these signals to these potential customers that one of two things is either happening is you're just not keeping up or you don't care or you've just forgotten or you might be out of business. Um, and neglecting your Google My Business profile can be the difference again of being found or forgotten, right? So when we talk about falling behind, it's not just about what you're doing, it's about what you're not doing, right? And more often than not, that missing piece is, a consistent, a proactive reputation strategy. So we've talked about falling behind and what that looks like, but that sort of raises the question, well, if online reputation is so important, then why isn't everyone making this a top priority, right? Now, the first two reasons they go hand in hand, right? So starting with a failure to recognize the importance of intentionally building trust. Some business owners, they believe reviews are just going to naturally show up over time, right? Without any active effort. The problem is in today's competitive landscape, it's just a rare case. In fact, 75% of customers are actually willing to provide a review, but less than 13% of businesses are actually asking for the review. So there's this mindset we hear a lot, right? Is our business is, built on relationships, so we don't really need reviews. Like we don't need a review process or anything like that. But the reality is, even if you have a really great network and you have happy customers, which is a great thing, by the way, those new prospects who don't even know who you are yet and are looking up for the service that you have to offer online, if they don't see proof in any form of like a recent or positive review, they might not take that step. You might be a business that's been in the business for 20, 30 years, have a great reputation amongst your customers, but a lot of people might not even know you exist that are actually new to the market. So then there's also the practical challenge that I truly believe everyone can relate to in this room, right? Is the concept of, okay, we're juggling too many responsibilities, right? We're all wearing multiple hats in the business, whether it's sales, service, admin, you know what I mean? And review management can just feel like something that you're like, okay, I'll just get to it later, right? And unfortunately, that later oftentimes turns into never. And the opportunity to build that strong reputation eventually just passes you by. So it's not, I'm going to say it's not that businesses don't care. It's either they underestimate the importance, assume that it's going to sort of happen on its own, or they just simply run out of the bandwidth to make it happen in general, right? And in the meantime, you got to think about it. If your competitors are doing this, they're the ones that are earning the trust and winning business when you should be winning business. Okay, so we covered impact of reviews, the warning signs that you might be sort of falling behind, and then some of the reasons behind some of the reasons why businesses don't make reputation a priority. So let's switch now and talk about, okay, where this is where I want to talk about like what's going from like what's wrong into what can we actually do about it, right? At NiceJob, we call this customer driven growth. It's a customer driven growth playbook. And at its core, it's all about how can you turn the voice of your happy customers into real measurable revenue. So the idea is very, very simple. When you collect reviews strategically, you encourage referrals intentionally, and you create this sort of flywheel effect, right? Your reputation starts attracting new customers. Those customers have a great experience, they leave reviews, and then they refer others, and that cycle kind of keeps building momentum over time. We're going to break this down right now. I'll break it down into like practical steps you can actually start applying right away so that reviews and referrals aren't just like this nice to have, they become a core part of how your business grows. Okay, so customer driven growth. We talked a little bit about that, right? So again, it's think about it as a journey, right? Like you've been on sort of, this journey, right? So it's at its core, this approach is very, very simple if you think about it, right? The idea is around when you deliver an excellent experience consistently, your customers don't just leave happy, they become a growth engine. And think about that journey that we've been on, right? Reviews influence the buying decision, they boost your visibility, and referrals convert at a higher rate. And customer driven growth ties that all together in this repeatable system. So, the mindset shift that we need to take, right, is instead of asking, how do I get more leads? We can start saying, how do we take such great care of our customers that they naturally will bring us the next one? And, one great experience equals one new customer. And if we do that at scale, like I said, it's going to become that flywheel that we were talking about. And so when that happens, your customers slowly become fans, right? People who will vouch for you publicly in reviews. They'll recommend you privately to their friends or their family or whoever it is, and they'll choose you again when they need that service, done again because their experience matched that promise, right? And so that's customer driven growth. It's like design the experience, earn the trust, let the customers power the revenue. So let's break that down even further. So now that we sort of have the basics of how the playbook works, right? The most critical concept to focus on is, of course, gathering those authentic reviews, right? But first, you got to create experience that make customers happy. So you got to go above and beyond what's expected of you today to really wow the customer, right? And I know none of this is news to this audience, probably, right? We're always trying to deliver the best service to our customers, which is amazing, right? But it's worth repeating because we're all ultimately here to provide amazing customer experience that make customers want to share with their communities, right? So it starts off with that experience that we're talking about and turning customers into fans, right? The next is really capturing the voice of the customers, right? So knowing when to actually capture the customer's um, review or testimonial or whatever it is, and the moment of when to ask and how to ask. When to ask is what we've seen and what our studies have shown is you want to ask at the moment of peak excitement, and that's typically after the job is done. If you wait a week or two or three or a month, or you're like, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it, it's too late. The customer has actually forgotten about that experience. They've moved on. So we highly recommend you ask right at that moment. As soon as a job is complete, you ask them. How to ask? You want to actually preface the request. So there's a lot of times where we suggest a lot of businesses is start start the whole process by mentioning it up front. We hope to earn a 5-star review from you today. Get it in ahead of time, right? Don't come to them at the end and make it a surprise for the customer. Start it at the beginning. Also, make it personal, right? Like make the request personal when you're asking. So it's definitely important to ask for that, right? So that's kind of like the second part of this flywheel. The third part is now that you've captured that voice of the customer, take that voice of your customer and amplify it. Use it on your social media, use it on your website, put it in your paid ads, put it in your content marketing, showcase it wherever you can. Even if you want to showcase it in brochures, we've seen people put it on their trucks if it's such a good review, right? Put it wherever you think is best that's going to actually help amplify that voice of your customer. And then the third comes down to, again, when you do those first three, that's when that customer is going to bring you one more because you've taken what they've said, you've delivered an amazing experience. They've shouted about it online. You've positioned that properly, and now these customers are your fans, right? And when your fans become they're when they're actually doing these things, they're gonna want to actually start, referring other businesses, right? And that's where you can even take it a step further, right? Because now you can start asking those customers for referrals, right? You can be very, very proactive with it, and don't be afraid to ask for referrals. Again, it comes back to the timing, right? Timing is key. So you want to ask when the client is the happiest with your service. So example, like you've sort of solved their problem or you completed a project, ask for it right there. Make it easy also. Like that's the other thing too is you want to make it easy for people to submit a review or a referral. Don't overcomplicate the process, right? So create like a referral form or some sort of shareable link that they can, have a pre-written message that they can send to others so they don't have to actually go in there and say, "Hey, I worked with, company XYZ and they did a great job." Let it like pre-fill all that information for them, right? And the other thing is when you actually start doing this, you start seeing that full flywheel come together. Now, I want to show you an example of how this flywheel, how we sort of like at NiceJob try to practice what we preach, right? So here's an example of, a customer of ours that, we wowed them with that experience. And here's what they had to say. We collected this in the form of video testimonial. Let me know if this video is playing.
Hi, this is Brad, owner of Heroes Lawn Care on the Florida Panhandle. Before using NiceJob, I had this really painful process of calling the customers, seeing if they liked our service, and then drafting an email and sending a link to Google review that wasn't really working. So I was losing reviews, and it was a cumbersome, painful process. The NiceJob was the exact opposite of all of that. I was able to import all of my customers, bam, done, listed right there. And then I would call them and say, hey, would you like to leave a review? If they were happy, they said yes. I'd hit click, and then boom, off goes the review. You just received it. And a nice professional drip campaign, and their support has been awesome with getting all that stuff set up, customized directly to me. It's been great. So you need it, the reviews, to make your business autonomous and cheap and cost effective. And so it's great, and I swear by it. So I'm gonna go back to delivering smiles through greener, cleaner grass over here. You take care. Use NiceJob.
So great example. Loved our service. We clearly wowed him with he wasn't using NiceJob before. Now he is. So what did we do with that review, right? So he submitted a video testimony, but he also obviously submitted a review for us, like an actual Google review. So we took all of that information, right, and we captured it, right? So not only did we get a video testimony, but we got him to actually write us a Google review about us. The next thing that we sort of did is we took that and we actually showcased that on our website. So there's Brad right there, Heroes Lawn Care, and here's what he actually did, right? Featuring him right on the website, it just helps us amplify his voice, right? I'm leveraging the voice of the customer to do the selling for us, right? It's now businesses that are in the lawn care industry, they see Brad and they can relate directly to Brad, right? It's not us as the company pushing the message. He's actually the voice of our business, right? So he's representing it. So there's the amplify piece that we were talking about. And then, excuse me, and then we took it a step further. So how can we get customers to bring one more? Is we built a referral program, right? And the referral program is pretty straightforward. It's like, give a friend a big nice job discount and get cash back. So we wanted to incentivize customers like Brad who are already really, really happy with us, super fans of ours, to the point where they actually left a video review for us and an actual written review. And we said, hey, Brad, if you refer any of your friends, we'll actually incentivize you. They'll get 50% off for 2 months. You'll get a $75 Amazon gift card. And customers like Brad are more than happy to do this because they've already been wowed. You know what I mean? They've gone an extra step to actually write a review. They're super happy with you. And now they want to tell all their friends about it. And that comes back to how we were talking about every customer will bring you one more. Okay, so how do we go upon building this playbook? Like, what does it sort of look like? And let's dive into that. I see some questions coming in. Whenever it makes sense to answer this, is it worth to pay attention to SEO or should the focus be on AI at this point? Great question. So SEO, I'll answer this real quickly. SEO is still important. What we're seeing now more and more is the new terminology is AEO, which is answer engine optimization. One of the things you want to start doing is you want to start thinking about your business showing up both on Google and on tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity or all the different AI software that's coming out. The ranking process is still very, very similar. It's still 100% driven by your reputation. And I've actually challenged, I've run a couple different scenarios through ChatGPT where I've asked it numerous questions about, a certain business as an example and said, why did you choose this business over this business and why not this business over that business? And a lot of the times they're pulling their sources of information from the same spot that Google is, right? So it's your reputation is still important, but AI is definitely becoming more and more important because how people are searching is becoming a lot more granular. So no longer is someone saying, show me businesses near me. They're going to show me a lawn care company that can do landscaping and can do aeration and can do, can trim my bushes in the backyard, whatever it is, that they're becoming a lot more granular with their searches. So you want to make sure you're showing up there. But yeah, definitely a good question. Okay, so how can we build on this playbook? What does it sort of look like? So definitely the first step you want to start with is you want to set up and optimize your Google My Business listing, right? This is the very, very important. You want to claim and find your listing. It's very, very simple to do. Search for your business, your company name. Once you find it, claim it as your profile. Update the listing with accurate information, right? So you want to make sure you have things like the name of the business, the address, the hours of operation, make sure that's all correct, the phone number, your email address, that they can reach you out. And then you want to add descriptions about your business and different things like that about like, these are different services we have to offer and so on and so forth. and then add relevant business categories, right? So obviously a lot of businesses, they don't just do one thing. If you're offering multiple services, you can add different categories and subcategories. And then you also want to make sure you're adding the right, images of your business, maybe videos and things like that to represent who you are. So that's definitely the first step you want to take, right? Is optimizing Google. Then what you want to essentially do is you want to start looking at how can I start collecting, right? And you can start simple. You can either do it with text or by email, but it's important to really diversify how you're requesting reviews. We talked about it's important to ask for that review at the moment of peak excitement. Again, right after the job. That's when, not a week later, not a month later. Ask for them right after. And, but you can either text the customer or email the customer. Some customers respond better to text, some customers respond better to email. That's just the nature of it is, and there are definitely ways to automate this process, and we will talk about that later in the presentation. One other thing that I love to talk about too is empower and incentivize your employees. Like this is like something that's like not really talked about a lot, but I love this. Train your staff to ask, right? Like employees should casually mention reviews in the conversation with the customer, right? Priming them to sort of expect the request. So saying very simple things like, we hope to earn a 5-star review for our work today, or we're going to try to earn a 5-star review from you today, or whatever it is, or once the job is done, we hope that we can deliver a 5-star service. Dropping those hints like early on, it can really set expectations with the customer, so when they receive this amazing experience, then they get asked to leave a review, they'll become more inclined to do so. It's not a surprise, right? The other thing you can do is use incentives wisely, right? So obviously you can't buy reviews, and you probably shouldn't be buying reviews, but definitely motivate your employees to try to, um, try to collect reviews. And you can do it by like, either tying in positive feedback to them, or, if you want to do bonuses. I've seen businesses do bonuses or recognitions and say, hey, if you get mentioned in the review, or the person who gets mentioned in the review the most gets this or that. Um, that's a really, really cool way to create, some internal fun and competition amongst the employees. And they love it, right? Especially if there's a bonus involved, they're definitely gonna try to push for that a lot. So definitely get your employees involved. Don't just ask once. So this I can't emphasize, right? So you want to give yourself the best chance possible by asking multiple times, right? And we talked about email and messaging work really, really well together, but some customers, like I said, they like email, some like messages, but you have to do both so that you can increase the chances of getting that review. So definitely ask multiple times to boost your conversion rate. Because if you have 10 customers and you're asking each one of those 10 customers once, maybe one person will leave it. But if you ask each one of those customers 2 or 3 or 4 times, maybe you'll get 3 or 4 reviews, right? So again, sometimes people are busy, they're gonna forget. But if you keep asking and asking more than once, it'll come back top of mind. The next is essentially give your customers multiple review site options. So this is something not a lot of people think about. They think about Google reviews as the only source, right? But there's other platforms outside of Google where your reputation also matters, right? And so I would look at your industry and look at your business and see what the best one is to consider. But in doing so, sometimes you got to remember sites like Google, they make customers log in to like put that information in. So that might be perceived as like an annoying step for customers, and they just might be like, forget it. I don't want to do it anymore. So there's other platforms like Facebook's another good example of, you can leave reviews for the business on Facebook. So if that's easier, they're already logged in, they can just click on the link and then boom, they're right there and they can leave your review on Facebook. It's still a good spot, right? But again, give customers more options. Responding to reviews. So, you know, this is something that's super, super critical, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this. So, first and foremost, something that you need to think about is reviews are public, right? And because reviews are public, your responses are need to be looked at as marketing. So, a thoughtful response to any review, it just shows future customers what they can expect. Like what kind of customer service can they expect from you, right? And then positive reviews, they actually deserve a response. So don't neglect positive reviews, because thanking a customer for a great review, it just makes them more likely to return or to refer customers, which you want to get those referrals. Now, when it comes to negative reviews, because I know this is a big like elephant in the room, everyone's like, "Oh, what if I get a negative review? What do I do?" Don't worry about negative reviews. And ignoring negative reviews, I'll tell you one thing right now about it is silence, ignoring a negative review can actually become a lot more damaging than the bad review itself, right? Potential customers will see a business has, oh, they have 5 stars, and a lot of times people will click on and be like, who's the one that left a 1 star? What happened in that incident, right? Because I want to avoid that if I'm going to do business with this business. And they'll click on that 1 star review, and if there's no response from the business, then what happens is those potential customers assume that, they just don't care about customer feedback. They didn't care about that customer, which is really, really a bad thing, right? So it can become a PR nightmare, especially if you respond poorly, whether it's like defensive or dismissive or like, responding to criticism. It can just turn into one big bad PR nightmare. So definitely avoid that. So respond to them, right? And do like have a well-handled negative review. Like, you know what I mean? Like just write it out in a way where you can kind of take the conversation offline. That's what we usually recommend. But show customers that are actually browsing that, okay, they responded to that review. It may have been a one-off incident, but they clearly, took the steps to handle it. But a well-handled negative review and actually can turn into to a win, right? So customers are appreciative. They understand business owners make mistakes. But if you're owning up to it and you're offering solutions, that's all that really matters. So the other thing you can do is turning your best reviews into engaging social content, right? So this comes back to social proof, right? And at the core, if you think about social proof, it's this concept that, humans, we are just creatures of habit and we love to copy the behaviors of other humans because it seems like the correct behavior or the correct in a given situation, right? So another way to think about it, and the way I kind of always give the example, is like pretend there's a path that leads you to a fork in the road, but your friend said, hey, I went right and it was totally fine. Everything was good. So you're most likely going to go right. You're not going to go left, right? Because your friend Frank said, hey, right is safe, go right. It's just natural human behavior, right? So when it comes to reviews, like showing potential customers that others took that chance on hiring you or purchasing from your business, and they had a good experience and the risk paid off, that's stuff that people like to see, right? And so since humans copy humans, new potential customers are more likely to hire your company in that situation, right? So there's things you can do like, integrating the stuff into your websites like we talked about, integrating your Google star ratings into your ads on Google, posting it on social media. Like I said, these are all social proof, right? So if there's a cool review, turn it into a nice post on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. Make a video about it if you want to. And then physical materials, like I said earlier, if you have any, really, really cool reviews that you want to share, put that in your flyers, or some. I've seen business cards with a review on it as well. Invoices is a good spot to think about as well. And then even vehicles. Okay, every customer brings one more. So we talked about this, right? So following up with the customer is very, very important, because if you follow up with a review and it's a good one, they're gonna refer customers and then provide multiple options. We talked about that as well. So I'm not gonna chime on that too much. Now I want to talk about how can you scale this up with automation, right? So managing online reviews, it can kind of feel like I kind of give the analogy of like it feels like trying to keep up with like a family group chat that just never stops. And then you get back at the end, you're like, okay, I know this stuff's probably important, but I just don't have time to get to it. So there's definitely tools, obviously, that can help streamline this process so that you're not sort of, glued to your screen and having to manually chase reviews, or even asking customers like awkwardly, like, okay, so you want to write me a little something, something, a 5 star review, maybe? So it's like, don't make it awkward. So how can you get this sort of steady flow of customer feedback instead of, chasing the customers, right? And kind of going from there. Um, Consistency. So let's start with a few things, right? Automation can obviously make the process a lot easier because it does a few things, right? So consistency. So when you automate the process, you ensure that you're asking the reviews at the right time. You're not missing the opportunity. It's automated on your behalf. Efficiency. Automation obviously will allow you to focus on other aspects of your business, so you're not spending time chasing that. You will get higher response rates when you are automating the process as well because it's doing all the work for you. It's hitting them multiple times with texts and emails and so on and so forth. And then you'll obviously over time improve your reputation. So again, making it easy to ask. We talked about making it easy for the customer to leave that review and making it easy for them to share. But once you automate that all together, it's going to go a long way. I'll try to get through these slides and then we'll jump to Q&A. See some questions kind of popping in. Okay, let's talk about how can NiceJob and JobTread actually work together to automate this reputation, right? So for any contractors that are sort of managing estimates and schedules and budgets and dealing with customer communication stuff, all of this stuff already takes up a full portion of your day, right? So if I was to add, hey, chase every review to your list of to-dos, it can become a little bit overwhelming, right? So while JobTread sort of keeps your jobs organized and things like that, NiceJob integrates with JobTread, so it automatically will trigger those review requests when you mark the job as complete, right? So there's no extra step required, no manual reminders. Once you set it up once, it kind of does all the heavy lifting for you. And so, together with these two platforms, they can help you consistently collect reviews, boost your Google ratings, and build a reputation that's going to help you ultimately win more work, all without adding any more admin tasks to your plate. So the way I always say, like the analogy is, look at NiceJob as like this marketing assistant who is working 24/7, making sure your customers are happy, that they share their experience, and you can kind of focus on the job.
So Mo, just to chime in here. So,
Yeah.
right here, what we're looking at, this is the customer account. And so we've actually made it where like after the job, you can come back and you can decide which customer contact you want to push over to NiceJob into that campaign. So, if you had multiple people, you know, uh, working on the account, like you could choose one or you could add all of them. This is where you would need to come click this button. We didn't want to, when we first implemented it, like we didn't want to like necessarily like automate it where like every single, job that you complete, got sent over there just in the event that maybe it didn't go as planned and you don't want to ask for a review from someone, you've got that ability. But really excited to announce that as of today, because earlier this week we pushed out our workflows feature, we've now added a special action that if you have enabled the NiceJob integration in JobTread, you'll now see this new NiceJob action that will allow you to automate, this process of enrolling your customer contacts into these NiceJob campaigns, and then that will let you set up some rules or kind of filter. So, like if you had, certain kind of fields or things that, like, maybe some customers or some jobs, like if you had, some rating or something or other, like if you wanted to sort of set up some automation rule to send that over, or if you just want every time you mark a job closed or some other thing, like you can essentially automate that now with our workflows. But I do think it's important to kind of just really think through, like, when and who do you want to be asking for reviews.
100%. No, thanks, Eric, for adding that. Okay, lastly, I wanted to share two more slides. So this one is just I wanted to share an example of a customer of ours that's also a customer of JobTreads, right? So this is Caleb, who has owns Masters Roofing, and they basically once they onboarded onto NiceJob, and within 6 months of signing up with us, they've nearly doubled the total number of reviews, right? So they've seen the 33% increase in conversion rate, which has allowed them to actually gain a lot more reviews just by automating the whole process, right? So it just took that step out of their to-do list, and now it's just they're able to kind of get back to doing what they're doing while the business runs, and they're focusing on the business while this engine's working behind the scenes on their behalf, asking customers every single time a job is done. So. And lastly, I do want to share there is a cool promotion right now that we are giving to everybody on this call, where you can receive and you can try NiceJob for 50% off for the first 3 months, plus an Amazon gift card as well. So if you want to scan that QR code, I'll probably keep the screen up here for the duration of the Q&A session. Um,
Now, I think if they go through And if they go through JobTread, don't they get let's see,
I
let
think
me
this
pull
might
up
be a
in the marketplace here. Um,
yeah, it's probably already set up on JobTread. You're right.
yeah, so I think you actually get 50% off for the life for lifetime when you go through our integration and marketplace there.
Oh, there you go.
So maybe
JobTread
you'll
gives
also
you a
give them the
better
100 bucks.
promo. So JobTread gives you an even better promo. Um, but yeah, that's basically what I had. I think we can kind of flip over to the Q&A the section of this call. I do see there was one here. It says we might do 3 or 4 projects a year. 3 to 4 reviews is not many. Is it reasonable to ask for reviews as you progress? Yes, 100%. Ask for reviews as you see forward. Sometimes if you are working with multiple people on a job, you can ask for multiple people as well. So that's another way of we've seen businesses do it too. So if you're working with more than one person on that job, there's another way to kind of get more reviews out of one job. Okay.
Yeah, so I see we have a couple in the Q&A box. So what do you recommend using for automation is what Kara here asked. So I mean, obviously through JobTread you can now set that automation up, and I'd say by definition NiceJob is an automation tool for this whole thing.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, NiceJob has a lot of cool features that we're rolling out too as well. There's even features like, AI replies is a new one that we just launched now. So, obviously replying to reviews is very, very important. So what the engine does is it automatically create pre-draft, like pre-written replies for you. So it'll save you even more time. So now you don't have to go in and manually review those. You can just review the pre-written drafts, make a little tweak that you want, and just hit publish and it does it for you.
Nice.
There's also another really, really cool feature that we rolled out too is a repeat. It's called Get Repeats. It's basically a campaign that will now go after customers that are really happy with you, that have left a review, maybe even left given you a referral, and they'll look for repeat business with them as well. So if you're in a business that has some sort of repeatable offering, you can go after those as well.
Nice. Stephanie asked here, can you get house reviews from here as well?
House reviews? No, I don't think we have. I'd have to double check to be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure if we have the house integration um, yet. We might actually, because I know we do a lot of them actually. So there's different options you can set up.
And then we got Melanie here asked, what are the top contractor review sites these days besides Google? Are they still BBB, Yelp, House?
Yeah, yeah, that's typically what we see. Facebook sometimes plays as we see it showing up here and there, but yeah, it's typically Google is obviously still the dominant. Like I said, even with AI, Google's being pulled in a lot of the times. As the source. But yeah, BBB is I've seen BBB show up in AI search as well.
Yeah. I think, one of my I'd say my favorite feature is just how with NiceJob, like we're able to the entire team gets an email every single time,
Yeah,
we get a new review. So like we just set up like our user, it's, our company-wide email address so that everyone gets notified, everyone can see it. And I think that's been a really great way, especially when someone, whether it's, customer success manager, one of our training people, whenever they get called out, the whole team just automatically sees that. And I think it's a really great, just kind of recognition system for everyone for their hard work. So I'm sure hopefully all of you have customer success manager at some point has asked for a review, things like that. I mean, as you can tell, I mean, we definitely practice this firsthand. I mean, if you go look at our JobTread reviews, I think we're probably something, let's see how many we're at now. I mean, we've got, 765 5-star reviews. And like, I can tell you, like, this makes a huge difference. Like we have seen, like with Chat GBT, with Google AI, Perplexity, they're now, Grok as well, like they're now recommending JobTread, when people are asking, hey, what's a good construction management software or estimating software? Like, they're comparing us to others. Like, I mean, it's really, really powerful. And like Mo said, like it is kind of a new age now with all of the AIs and just being able to make sure that they see that you're a very active business. And I think you guys make it super easy to just stay on top of that.
100%. 100%.
Looks like we got one more. Can you speak more about the messaging repeat clients get? How often is outreach made? So
For
for
the
the
repeat clients, yeah, you can actually set that up in the automation. So you can choose how often you want to go after repeat customers. Like we've seen some customers that have actually gained an additional like $20,000 in business per month from just going after repeat customers. So instead of sometimes going after your, new customers, tapping into your existing ecosystem, people that are happy with you and you completely forgot about them because you've just moved on, you can set that up to say, hey, I want you to not, notify them once every 6 months, once a year, once every 2 months. You can set up that frequency and it'll automatically do it for you. And then all of a sudden you're getting more booked jobs.
I think one other interesting situation to bring up, it's not necessarily like getting the good reviews, but like we had an interesting situation where in JobTread Pros, one of our clients shared that like he got blasted by a bot or something, got like 7 1-star reviews in the matter of like minutes.
Mm.
What is you guys recommendation on how to deal with that?
Yeah, sometimes I mean those cases happen, right? A lot of times you can report them, especially if they're clearly a bot. And a lot of times Google will get them removed. Um, But yeah, like it's unless you're getting like, unique negative reviews, then I think there's a different issue. Like you'd have to kind of figure out what happened there that caused all those negative reviews to come in. But yeah, definitely I would say report those when they do happen, if they do happen, because we've seen Google take those down immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, he that was kind of our advice, and like, I think we had a bunch of people went in and also reported it,
Yeah,
as fake or spam or something like that. And I think like within a day or two he had them removed. But I know it created a lot of heartburn for him, and
for
obviously
sure.
it really stinks to see, like your reputation potentially get blown up by a bot. But I think just again, everyone
100%.
remember it can be corrected.
Yeah, yeah. All these things can be corrected. That's why I'm saying a lot of people say I don't want to do reviews because I'm worried about the negative review. And it's like if you're doing a good job and you're taking care of your customers every day, like you shouldn't worry about that. And incidents do happen. And actually, what's interesting, we did a study where we kind of looked at, the trust that people have. And actually people trust businesses that have not a 5-star review, but it's like a 4.9, 4.8. They have a higher trust than a 5-star because we realize at the end of the day, the people that are running these businesses are human beings and no one's perfect, right? But as
Yeah.
long as you're owning up to that, having those open and honest conversations and it's transparent, like I said, it's marketing, it's free marketing for you, right? So let your customers do that marketing for you.
Yeah, I really also like how you guys have like the ability to actually embed a couple different like widgets on your website where
Yes,
just all the new reviews are automatically like, so it's just keeping
yes,
your website fresh, all that new content coming in, it's just really good, I think to just kind of have that automated,
a hundred
flow
percent.
directly to your website.
That's another really cool thing I actually mentioned. I mean, yeah, like we have a few widgets, like you said, there's one that pops up in the bottom like corner that just says, oh, Eric just left us a 5-star review, Mo just left a 5-star review, and here's what it was. And then there's also like, a trust badge that we can put on the website as well that shows you that, here's what your rating is on Google. So people can actually, if they want to leave a review, they can find it through there. But it's just, again, it goes back to that social proof concept, right? Is that, use the voice of your customer to amplify that voice of the customer so you can win more business.
Yeah. I love too and I always recommend people like, I mean, I think your approach should be going into every single project. Like, we want to win your 5-star review. We want to earn
Yeah.
that. We want you to be as happy and satisfied as absolutely possible. We're going to do whatever it takes, and I think when clients hear that on the front end, maybe even before, they've selected you, like it brings them, a sense of confidence that you are going to do a great job and that you are going to be there. With construction, we all know the unexpected is expected. So,
Yeah.
I think it's important that they know that that is your goal, and then it makes it easier. Like Mo was talking about, like when you do follow up at the end of that, job, that hey, did we earn that 5-star review? If so, like there's already that like sort of that expectation that when that happens, that they will go and do that. I think it's a really good way to sort of frame the entire project, and it gets your whole team too, like motivated to want to do that. I'm a big believer in like, put some sort of an incentive in place that like, whenever, if a project manager earns that 5 star, I mean, give them some sort of a, a bonus or some sort of, something, if one of your field guys gets called out or, whatever it may be, like just think about ways because like you want this to keep happening. Like this is so valuable for your business, that like whatever you can do to incentivize and reward for that outcome from your team. Because again, it can be a little bit of an awkward conversation if if people aren't used to asking for that. But I think the more that you can put together a program and then again showcase those people who are earning those 5 star reviews for a company, give them that recognition, give them that bonus, whatever it is, I think it's a great way to incentivize them and to encourage it. Here our customer success managers, every time they get a 5 star review, they get a bonus. And it's something that, we want them going into every single new client, striving to earn that extra bonus. And so, that's why, they likely ask for it or they should ask for it. I know some people probably don't ask as much as others, but whatever you can do to put together a program, I think it'll really help you drive it.
100% agree.
All right. Any other questions here, guys? Got just a couple more minutes. Want to make sure we get any of those burning questions out there. Again, I'm sure Mo and his team they'd be happy to to
Absolutely.
do a demo. If anyone's interested in learning more, obviously directly in the JobTread marketplace or right there on the integration tile, you can reach out to them. Schedule a time. They'll show you exactly how the system works on the back end. I can tell you it's a pretty straightforward, pretty easy to use and get set up, and it's really nice. Once it's up and running, it just does the work for you. All righty. No other questions? Oh, you're welcome, Jeanette. Thank you for coming. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeanette.
Also, thank you, Mo, for taking the time to share these insights with us. Appreciate, I know you're super busy over there, but really appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys hadn't explored them, please do check them out. I'm sure they'll also be at JobTread Connect as well, so you get to meet them in person. We're big face-to-face people. Love the building the relationships. But again, any of you guys need any help, questions, I'm also happy to answer those questions. Our customer success managers can also, provide answers, help you get these automations set up, but whatever you do, if you took away anything, go strive to earn those 5 star reviews, build that great
100%.
client experience. It's going to take your business to the next level.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
All
Thanks,
right. Thank
everyone.
you. Have a good one, everyone.